I'm meteorologist Danny Provenzano with an update on strong storms coming into mid-Michigan. We have one storm in particular that radar is indicating has some rotation in it, so a tornado warning has been issued for Clinton County, goes till 10:45. Take a look at Doppler radar, and it's not set on the mode that you normally see. This is indicating the velocities or the wind speeds that are inside that thunderstorm, which is right in the central part of Clinton County. You can see it coming out of Westphalia, headed towards 127, just south of St. John's and just north of DeWitt. That area there would be of concern as we're getting some rotation inside this thunderstorm. Most of the storms that have been to the west of us have had zero tornadoes come out of them. It has been gusty winds, but this system stands by itself, and it is kind of just moving along ahead of the line of storms. So there's the red shade of the warning. You can see how this one storm has blossomed up and racing off to the east. The Weather Service not thinking that this will last very long, so the warning only goes until 10:45 as it's racing at about 45 miles an hour to the eastern side, now going into the eastern side of the county. And there it is right there across Clinton County, right south of St. John. So if you're in that area, you should be in some form of shelter, certainly at lowest level you can find, as well as between some walls and away from outside walls and windows. Meanwhile, behind it is the actual front with strong storms also racing along, and these have had gusty winds with them because they're moving so fast from west to east at about 50 miles an hour. So there's been some gusts here. There's been some wind damage on the west side of the state. Isolated warnings have been issued for these storms. They even had a water spout over Lake Michigan at one time around 8:30. But the lone storm system that has moved out ahead of it into this really muggy air mass has produced rotation inside that. We've had no reports of any kind of tornado touchdown, but certainly there could be some kind of strong winds north of DeWitt, south of Fowler, St. John's, kind of out in the country area there as it heads off to the east. Again, we can click it on so we can take a look at the velocities here and see how fast the rotation is. So here's the storm coming in. I'll just freeze it, and you can see the two colorations here indicating winds going from opposite directions with height, which gives us some rotation with this thunderstorm. It certainly is got a pretty good echo to it that shows us there is probably some rotation in the storm, and it could even be reaching the ground. But as of right now, not much in the reporting department as far as what's going on from that storm system as far as on the ground. We have seen winds quite strong inside the system and away from the system as well. So we're getting winds going in different directions. You can see the gate-to-gate shear, which means the combination of the winds blowing away and blowing to the radar site is at 115 miles an hour. So it's certainly got some rotation inside there, and very aloft. It's got some very gusty winds. There is no doubt about that. We have also been watching the lightning on our Skycam off to the northwest. And whenever you see quite a bit of lightning strikes, that gives a good indication that you've got wind aloft inside that thunderstorm. So we are going to stay with this here and take a look at these storms as they race east off to the northwest. Now, the shaded areas to the gray, disregard those. Those are air quality index kind of stuff for the high heat and humidity that we had today. The line of storms will continue to push east, and it's affecting northern parts of mid-Michigan. It's that lone storm, though, that is showing some signs of weakening now, but it's certainly right across the central part of Clinton County. And Clinton County is in that warning, tornado warning, till 10:45. So we got to go another 14 minutes or so as this storm races off to the east. It's moving along very quickly. So when you have ground speed of 45 to 50 miles an hour, just like the storms that are back near Greenville and up into Montcalm County, you've got to add that into the equation besides the winds that are getting organized inside the storm. You're going to get some gusty winds, whether you get the tornado part of it or not. As these storms go through, you would expect trees to maybe have some damage and blowing around with winds of 45 or 50, and that's been the common number on the west side of the state. But again, if you are in central parts of Clinton County, be aware that a tornado warning and radar indicating inside that storm just southwest of St. John's that there is rotation, and it's pretty good rotation, just nothing reported yet from the ground, on the ground, out of this storm. Radar certainly tracking it very well. Blew up just to the west about an hour ago and has kind of been concentrated now as it has been moving off to the east. The watch box, the warning area is right there from about DeWitt to St. John's, west to east. It goes right up to the county line. If the storm continues to hold its present intensity, I would expect to see a tornado warning issued for Shiawassee County, but nothing as of yet on any of that. So certainly things we're watching out of this storm system. And again, if you're in that area, you should be mindful to it. There is a lot of lightning that came with this system as it headed off to the east. And as far as the winds, they are still showing rotation. When we see that green shaded area with the red shaded area, and that's pretty well defined that there is rotation here. So we got winds going in one direction versus to the north, winds from another direction. And that's a good indication that there is wind shear and rotation developing inside the storm. A couple other things I can show you really quickly here as this starts to update the radar with the last sweep. You can see how that is now shifting off to the east and starting to kind of broaden. So as it crosses 127 there, you can see how they're starting to break down a little bit. We still have that rotation there. And this is a three-dimensional look at this storm system as it's rotating through the region across central parts of Clinton County. And be aware that there is rotation inside the storm, and the potential winds that coming out of that could be very strong, could be in excess of 90 miles an hour if it does reach the ground. Now, we have not had any tornado warnings at all with any of the systems that have come across mid-Michigan so far this evening, or even on the west side of the state, where there's a pretty good line of showers and storms that came inland off the lake with pretty good strong wind gusts. There were marine warnings, and that continues to race southeast. The thunderstorm that we're concerned about has nothing to do with that line of storms. There will be more additional storms that will develop in southern parts of mid-Michigan. Is a separate storm that blossomed up over Ionia County near Portland is when the first rotation started, and now it is into the center part of Clinton County. So if you're in St. John's, you might be just north of that. But anybody that's over to the east side of the county, over to Elsie, you're probably feeling that really strong push of wind that comes with that as it now heads off to the east. The line itself racing at about 45 to 50 miles an hour, as is this individual storm. So you've got that kind of like putting a wake in the atmosphere. You've got that push of air with the rain reaching the ground and racing out ahead of it. And sometimes you'll feel that wind gust 10 or 15 minutes before the rain does arrive. But we're still indicating some rotation with this system as it crosses over 127 here in Clinton County. Again, it is just south of St. John's and north of DeWitt. So that's a little more rural area, but still many buildings along 127. And you should be certainly seeking shelter. You can download the WILX weather app and get the radar right there in your pocket, and the very quick updates will come to your phone. So if you need to go to a place of safety and you don't have access to the television, that's a good thing to have on your phone because it will highlight you when you're getting involved in that tornado warning and or hail or lightning. So it's a good system to have. You see that green shaded area now going across to the east. Again, this warning does continue